If you lose the loved one, try to be more like the good sides of them.
What makes a great filmmaker fall in love with someone else's film? Is it the story, the artistry, or something deeper? A spark that lights the fire of inspiration? Francis Ford Coppola knows the answer. And when a man responsible for The Godfather, Apocalypse Now, and The Conversation names his personal favorites, you can bet they're not just good, they're timeless. Coppola is more than a legendary director. He's a lifelong student of cinema. In interviews, he's admitted it's almost impossible for him to narrow his list, joking that he has 400 favorite films, and it depends entirely on which day you ask. But over the years, he's let slip a select few titles that hold a special place in his heart. And in those moments, we get a rare glimpse into the films that shaped his taste, challenged his creativity, and reminded him why he fell in love with movie making in the first place. These aren't just films he respects from a distance. They're works that stirred something inside him, sometimes decades after their release. A vibrant French musical that burst with color and energy. A smoky 1930s train ride filled with intrigue and danger. A gritty modern classic that he once turned down the chance to work on, only to admire it years later. And yes, a brutal boxing drama he calls a towering achievement in modern cinema. In this countdown, we're celebrating 6 films that Francis Ford Coppola has openly called his favorites. Each one reveals something about the man himself, the artist who believes that the purpose of cinema is to illuminate our times and the things that are important to us. So let's step into the projection booth of one of history's greatest directors and see the movies that continue to inspire him. Because when Francis Ford Coppola says a film is great, you can trust it's worth your time. Number 6, French Can-Can, 1955, directed by Jean Renoir.
J'écraserai tes yeux, ton front, entre deux.
When Francis Ford Coppola talks about movies he loves, he doesn't just stick to the heavy dramas and epic sagas you might expect. In fact, one of the first films he's quick to name is a bright, exuberant Technicolor musical, French Can-Can, directed by the great Jean Renoir. Coppola has called it outright. One of my favorite films is Renoir's French Can-Can. And when you watch it, it's not hard to see why. Released in 1955, this film is pure cinematic celebration, an explosion of color, music, and movement that sweeps you into the world of Parisian nightlife. Renoir's story follows the revival of the famous Can-Can dance at the Moulin Rouge, with a cast of characters caught up in the drama, romance, and joy of the theater. It's a love letter to performance itself. Renoir uses the screen like a painter uses a canvas, filling every frame with texture and life. The dancers swirl in a blur of skirts and energy. The lights seem to glow with their own warmth, and the music practically leaps out at you. For Coppola, a director who's always admired bold visual choices, this was a masterclass in using color not just as decoration, but as storytelling. It also resonates with Coppola's own experiments in cinema. While he's best known for crime dramas and war epics, he's also ventured into musicals, like One from the Heart, 1981. A film that, like French Can-Can, used elaborate sets and vibrant color to create a heightened, dreamlike reality. In Renoir's work, Coppola sees a kindred spirit, a filmmaker unafraid to go big, to embrace spectacle, and to make the screen itself feel alive. But French Can-Can isn't just visual flair. Renoir weaves in themes about the cost and sacrifice of art, the struggles of putting on a show, the heartbreak behind the curtain, and the way personal relationships can get tangled in the pursuit of performance. These are ideas Coppola has explored himself, whether in the family betrayals of The Godfather or the obsessive creative drive in Apocalypse Now. What's striking is that French Can-Can doesn't shy away from joy. Many of Coppola's own films are steeped in tragedy, but here he's drawn to a story that bursts with optimism. It's the kind of film that reminds both audiences and filmmakers why they fell in love with the art form in the first place.
Il en fait cadeau à l'archimandrite, qu'il transforme en couvent des oiseaux. Alors nous, pour le cancan, rideau.
There's also a historical weight to Renoir's achievement. By the mid-1950s, Technicolor was well established, but French Can-Can used it in ways few had imagined. Not for lush landscapes or epic battles, but for the intimate, electric world of dance halls and theater stages. For a filmmaker like Coppola, who came of age during cinema's new Hollywood revolution, this kind of innovation in earlier eras is a reminder that every generation reinvents the language of film. Number 5. Shanghai Express, 1932. Directed by Joseph von Sternberg.
Can lead him back to the train blind.
You're insane. He's a British officer. The Chinese government will have your head for it.
Francis Ford Coppola has seen just about everything cinema has to offer, from the grandest blockbusters to obscure festival darlings. But even a master director can stumble upon a classic late in life and be completely swept away. That's exactly what happened when Coppola finally watched Shanghai Express, Joseph von Sternberg's 1932 masterpiece starring the inimitable Marlene Dietrich. "I enjoyed it very much," Coppola admitted, almost surprised by how strongly it grabbed him. And it's not hard to understand why. Shanghai Express is more than just a romantic thriller set on a train. It's a perfect storm of style, intrigue, and star power. The film unfolds during the Chinese Civil War, with a train full of strangers hurtling through dangerous territory. Dietrich plays Shanghai Lily, a glamorous, enigmatic woman with a mysterious past who finds herself entangled with an ex-lover and a web of political intrigue. It's the kind of role that only Dietrich could make immortal. Every glance, every line delivery charged with both seduction and danger. For Coppola, who has built his career on richly atmospheric storytelling, Shanghai Express is a masterclass in mood. Sternberg turns the confined space of the train into a world of shadows, smoke, and soft light that feels at once intimate and dangerous. Every scene seems to glow from within, a testament to Sternberg's meticulous lighting and framing, techniques Coppola has long admired in filmmakers who treat the camera like a painter's brush.
You better get her out of there. I've just killed Chang.
It's also a film that refuses to be boxed in by genre. On the surface, it's a romance. Underneath, it's a political drama, a character study, and a suspense story. That ability to layer tones and themes is something Coppola himself has done throughout his career. From the operatic blend of crime, family, and politics in The Godfather, to the surreal mix of war and mythology in Apocalypse Now. What's remarkable is how fresh Shanghai Express still feels nearly a century later. Coppola's admiration suggests that truly great filmmaking is timeless. Even without modern effects or fast-paced editing, Sternberg's command of pace and tension keeps the audience locked in. For Coppola, this is the magic of cinema, when performance, design, and direction align so perfectly that a film transcends its era. There's also the undeniable influence of Dietrich's performance. Coppola has always championed actors who bring complexity to their roles, and in Shanghai Lily, Dietrich created one of cinema's definitive portraits of a woman in control of her destiny. Flawed, vulnerable, but never powerless. It's easy to imagine Coppola admiring how Sternberg gave his leading lady the space to command the frame. Something Coppola himself has done with actors like Diane Keaton, Winona Ryder, and Talia Shire. Even the setting carries a certain Coppola appeal. A moving train surrounded by political unrest forces characters into close quarters where tensions build and masks slip. Coppola has often used enclosed, high-pressure environments, whether a wartime jungle, a cramped newsroom, or a family dining table, to push his characters to their limits. Number 4. Midnight Cowboy, 1969. Directed by John Schlesinger.
You were gonna ask me for money? Huh?
Sometimes a director's appreciation for a film comes with a touch of regret. And for Francis Ford Coppola, Midnight Cowboy is one of those cases. He has openly admitted that early in his career, he was offered the opportunity to write the screenplay for this groundbreaking drama, but turned it down. At the time, Coppola didn't fully grasp the emotional core of James Leo Hurley's novel. "I sort of feel bad about Midnight Cowboy," he later confessed. "I really didn't understand the book back then. When I saw the film, I thought it was so beautiful." That beauty comes in the form of an unflinching, deeply human portrait of two outsiders struggling to survive in the gritty streets of New York City. Directed by John Schlesinger, Midnight Cowboy broke barriers with its raw honesty and refusal to sanitize its subject matter. It was the first and only X-rated film to win the Academy Award for Best Picture, a testament to both its shock value at the time and its undeniable artistry. The story follows Joe Buck, John Voight, a naive Texan who heads to New York dreaming of making money as a hustler, and Ratso Rizzo, Dustin Hoffman, a sickly, streetwise con man. Together, they form an unlikely bond, a friendship forged in hardship, loneliness, and the desperate search for dignity. For Coppola, whose own films often hinge on complex relationships between unlikely companions, the dynamic between Joe and Ratso must have been especially compelling. Coppola's admiration for Midnight Cowboy also stems from the sheer craft behind it. Schlesinger's direction weaves together documentary-like realism with impressionistic flashbacks and dream sequences, creating a visual language that feels both grounded and poetic. This blending of styles, reality colliding with memory and fantasy, is something Coppola himself has explored, particularly in The Godfather Part 2 and Apocalypse Now, where past and present bleed into one another to heighten emotional impact. There's also the matter of authenticity. Coppola has always valued performances that strip away vanity and dig into the truth of a character. In Midnight Cowboy, both Voight and Hoffman delivered career-defining work, embodying their roles so fully that it's impossible to separate actor from character. Hoffman, especially, took a risk by playing Ratso as physically unappealing and morally ambiguous, yet still deeply sympathetic. It's the kind of fearless acting Coppola has always encouraged in his casts.
I'm walking here! I'm walking here!
Don't worry about that. Actually, that ain't a bad way to pick up insurance, you know.
On a personal level, Coppola's connection to Midnight Cowboy may be rooted in the era it represents. Released in 1969, the film emerged during a transformative moment in American cinema. When the old Hollywood formulas were crumbling and daring, character-driven stories were taking center stage. Coppola was part of that same creative wave, and seeing Schlesinger's bold vision must have reaffirmed his own belief in pushing the medium forward. It's also worth noting Coppola's affection for Schlesinger himself, whom he has called the most wonderful man, and praised for his body of work. That respect goes beyond mere professional courtesy. It's an acknowledgement of a fellow artist who, like Coppola, sought to illuminate the human condition with honesty and compassion. Number 3. Black Narcissus, 1947. Directed by Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger.
Don't you realize what you're doing? What you're running the risk of losing in yourself?
Francis Ford Coppola has never hidden his admiration for British filmmaking duo Michael Powell and Emmerich Pressburger, known collectively as the Archers. Among their many masterpieces, one stands out in Coppola's mind as a personal favorite. Black Narcissus, the 1947 Technicolor classic that remains one of the most visually stunning films ever made. Adapted from Rumer Godden's novel, Black Narcissus tells the story of a group of Anglican nuns who establish a mission in a remote Himalayan palace. Isolated from their familiar world and surrounded by breathtaking yet alien landscapes, the sisters find themselves grappling with the thin line between spiritual devotion and human desire. For Coppola, the film's allure is not only in its narrative, but in how it marries bold storytelling with equally daring visual artistry. From the very first frame, Black Narcissus is a masterclass in color cinematography. Shot by the legendary Jack Cardiff, the film uses Technicolor not as a gimmick, but as an emotional force. Colors don't just paint the scenery, they tell the story. The deep reds, cool blues, and rich golds pulse with psychological intensity, mirroring the character's inner turmoil. Coppola, whose own work often employs color and lighting as thematic tools, The Godfather's warm amber interiors, Apocalypse Now's hellish reds and greens, must see in Black Narcissus a kindred approach. Visuals that aren't just decorative, but essential to the emotional experience. The setting is another key point of fascination. Though the story takes place high in the Himalayas, the film was shot entirely on soundstages in England, with breathtaking matte paintings and miniature work creating the illusion of soaring mountains and perilous cliffs. Coppola has long admired filmmakers who create worlds with limited means, turning constraints into creativity. The ability of Powell and Pressburger to conjure such a convincing atmospheric environment without ever leaving the studio aligns perfectly with Coppola's own appreciation for filmmaking as an art of illusion. But it's the psychological undercurrents of Black Narcissus that truly elevate it.
No, I don't want to go away. I want to stay here like this for the rest of my life.
The film explores repressed desire, cultural dislocation, and the fragility of faith. Themes that were daring for the late 1940s and still resonate today. As the nuns become increasingly unmoored, their disciplined routines give way to jealousy, obsession, and ultimately, tragedy. Coppola has always gravitated towards stories that peel back the layers of human nature, revealing both the beauty and darkness within. It's no surprise that this intense psychological drama would speak to him on a deep artistic level. Deborah Kerr's performance as Sister Clodagh is a study in restrained emotion, while Kathleen Byron's turn as Sister Ruth, a woman consumed by passion and madness, remains one of cinema's most unsettling portrayals of obsession. Coppola, who has directed his share of powerhouse performances, surely recognizes the delicate balance Powell and Pressburger struck in guiding their actors through such complex emotional terrain. There's also the matter of tone. Black Narcissus is both beautiful and unsettling, a combination that Coppola himself has mastered in films like The Conversation, where gorgeous craft coexists with a growing sense of dread. Powell and Pressburger's ability to create an atmosphere that's at once seductive and ominous mirrors Coppola's own belief that cinema should be immersive, layered, and emotionally truthful. Number 2, The Thief of Baghdad, 1940, directed by Ludwig Berger, Michael Powell, and Tim Whelan.
Am I not your master?
No longer. You've had your 3 wishes, and I'm free! Free!
For Francis Ford Coppola, cinema has always been about magic. Not just the magic of great performances or moving stories, but the kind of visual wonder that makes you feel like you're stepping into a dream. Few films capture that sense of pure enchantment better than The Thief of Baghdad, 1940, a dazzling Technicolor fantasy that Coppola has proudly called one of his favorites. Set in a mythical Arabian city, the film follows the adventures of a young thief, a deposed king, and a cast of unforgettable characters, from cunning viziers to towering genies. It's a story brimming with romance, danger, and exotic spectacle. And for Coppola, it embodies the kind of fearless imagination that first inspired him to become a filmmaker. One of the most remarkable things about The Thief of Baghdad is just how ahead of its time it was. Released during the golden era of Hollywood escapism, the film's special effects were groundbreaking. Flying carpets soared, magic arrows guided their own flight, and towering jinn emerged in clouds of smoke, all created decades before CGI. Coppola, who has worked with every level of technology in filmmaking, deeply appreciates what it takes to make fantasy believable without the help of modern digital tools. The combination of practical effects, matte paintings, and clever camera work gives The Thief of Baghdad a tactile quality that still holds up over 80 years later. But Coppola's admiration isn't just for its technical achievements. He's drawn to the film's joyful embrace of storytelling itself. The Thief of Baghdad is a celebration of myth and legend, the kind of tale that could be told around a fire one night and then brought to life on the screen the next. Coppola, who has always woven mythic structures into his own work, The Godfather Shakespearean tragedy, Apocalypse Now's journey into the heart of darkness, no doubt sees in this film a perfect example of how timeless narratives can be reimagined through the language of cinema. The film's vibrant color palette is another reason it resonates with Coppola. Shot in rich, saturated Technicolor, The Thief of Baghdad uses color to heighten emotion and define its magical world. The gleam of gold treasure, the deep blues of enchanted seas, the crimson robes of royalty, all of it works together to create a visual feast. It's a principle Coppola himself has employed throughout his career, from the moody golds and browns of The Godfather to the lush greens and fiery reds of Apocalypse Now. Performance-wise, the film is anchored by Sabu, the young Indian actor whose charm and athleticism made him an international star. Coppola has often praised films that take chances on emerging talent, and Sabu's turn as the spirited thief is exactly the kind of breakout performance Coppola champions, full of energy, authenticity, and heart. Ultimately, Coppola's love for The Thief of Baghdad comes down to its ability to remind audiences why we fall in love with movies in the first place. It's a story that sweeps you away, a visual marvel that still dazzles, and a testament to the power of imagination. For a filmmaker who has always balanced artistic ambition with a deep affection for classic movie magic, The Thief of Baghdad isn't just a favorite. It's a reminder of the boundless possibilities of cinema itself. Number 1. Raging Bull, 1980. Directed by Martin Scorsese.
One of the most damaging evidences of punching that you have seen in recent years. Come on!
When Francis Ford Coppola talks about Raging Bull, it's with the kind of reverence usually reserved for works of literature or paintings in a museum. For him, Martin Scorsese's 1980 masterpiece is more than just a film about boxing. It's a towering work of art that captures the beauty and brutality of the human spirit. Coppola has called it Scorsese's towering achievement, a film in which every element, acting, cinematography, editing, and music, comes together in perfect harmony to tell a story that lingers long after the final frame. At its core, Raging Bull tells the true life story of Jake LaMotta, a middleweight boxer whose ferocious fighting style in the ring was matched only by his self-destructive behavior outside it. Played by Robert De Niro in one of cinema's most transformative performances, LaMotta is a man consumed by jealousy, rage, and an insatiable need to prove himself. Coppola, who has always been drawn to flawed, larger-than-life characters, recognizes in Raging Bull a narrative that transcends sports. It's about obsession, self-destruction, and the cost of greatness, themes that resonate across all forms of storytelling. Visually, the film is a triumph. Shot in stark black and white by cinematographer Michael Chapman, Raging Bull feels like a photographic time capsule of the 1940s and 50s. The boxing scenes, choreographed with precision and filmed with a mix of slow motion and chaotic close-ups, put the audience inside the ring in a way no sports movie had done before. Coppola has often spoken about the importance of visual storytelling, of using images, not just dialogue, to convey meaning. And in Raging Bull, every frame tells its own part of the story. One of the aspects Coppola most admires is how Scorsese uses style to illuminate character. The brutal fight sequences are contrasted with quiet, intimate moments that reveal LaMotta's vulnerability. Scenes with his wife Vicky, played by Kathy Moriarty, or his brother Joey, Joe Pesci, carry as much weight as any knockout punch because they expose the emotional damage beneath the boxer's tough exterior. For Coppola, this balance between spectacle and intimacy is the hallmark of a truly great film.
Never went down, Ray. You never got me down, Ray. You hear me?
Then there's the dedication behind the performance. De Niro famously gained more than 50 pounds to portray the older, washed-up LaMotta, a physical transformation that Coppola deeply respects. As a director who's always valued authenticity, Coppola understands the risks and discipline required for such a commitment. It's the kind of fearless acting that elevates a good movie into a masterpiece. What makes Raging Bull stand out in Coppola's eyes is its ability to achieve what he believes is the ultimate goal of art: to illuminate our times and the things that are important to us. The film doesn't offer easy answers or redemption arcs. Instead, it presents life as it is: messy, painful, and occasionally beautiful. It's a work that challenges viewers as much as it moves them. For Coppola, Raging Bull is proof that cinema can rise to the level of the greatest works in any medium. It's a film that pushes artistic boundaries while remaining deeply human, a combination he has strived for in his own career. That's why, when listing his favorite films, he places Raging Bull at the top, not just as a peer's achievement, but as a reminder of what's possible when filmmaking is pursued with uncompromising passion. Francis Ford Coppola's list of favorite films is as eclectic and layered as the man himself. From the dazzling colors of French Cancan to the gritty realism of Midnight Cowboy, and from the dreamlike wonder of The Thief of Baghdad to the raw emotional power of Raging Bull, each choice reveals something about his own artistic DNA. These aren't just movies he enjoys. They're works that have shaped his vision, challenged his understanding of storytelling, and reminded him why cinema matters. What's striking is how wide-ranging his tastes are. Coppola embraces the technical marvels of the Golden Age, the bold experiments of post-war cinema, and the unflinching honesty of modern classics. It's a reminder that great filmmakers never stop learning from the work of others. For fans, this list is more than trivia. It's an invitation. Watching these films is like stepping into the creative mind of one of cinema's greatest directors, seeing the art form through his eyes. And in doing so, we can better appreciate not only the movies Coppola loves, but also the masterpieces he has given us. Because in the end, Francis Ford Coppola is more than a master filmmaker. He's a lifelong student of the magic of film.